I don't know how you can call this a Jewish institution if we're starting on time. I just don't. Oh, that's why.
And he insisted that we start on time.
Right. So, do you know what a Jew from Germany is called? A Yekka. Yekka. So sometimes you'll hear people say, "Oh, he's such a Yekka." It means he's fastidious and he's punctual and all that. Okay. Yeah. What? Yeah. Oh, is that who you're talking about? So, hi. Well, welcome. It's great to have you. I'm Rabbi Stanway, what's really funny is when I introduce myself, I hear my mother in my background. She's saying, "You're not a rabbi." Thanks, Mom. So it's great to see everybody, and I am delighted to have been invited to Emanuel for an interview, really, which has been so far lasting about 8 hours. It's the interview that never ends, and it's wonderful to see you. And I was asked to do something. I said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" "Well, let's do Havdalah." I said, "Havdalah on a Monday?" I said, "Okay, we'll do Havdalah." So everybody knows Havdalah is on a, there you go. Everybody knows Havdalah is on a Saturday night. Now, let's look at the word Havdalah. What is the Hebrew meaning of Havdalah? What is it? Separation, exactly. It comes from the root badal, which means to cut and to slice up. So Havdalah separates Shabbat from the rest of the week. Okay, so how come I agreed to do Havdalah on a Monday? Okay. Now Ruthie said, "Well, you know the tradition of Havdalah that you can do it anytime until Wednesday." And I said, "I heard that tradition, but I have never read it. I know my Jewish sources, and I've never come across it. It doesn't mean that it's not real, but nobody does Havdalah on Wednesday. Okay? I mean, Wednesday's when we go to the Publix or Whole Foods. Do you have Publix up here? No. Go down to Florida. Everywhere is Publix. And Publix and Aldi. Okay. Yeah, you got Aldi? Yeah, my wife really likes Aldi. So you've got this tradition of saying Havdalah on Saturday. So how come we're allowed to say it on Monday? Well, because it's a fake Havdalah. This is a fake Havdalah. And that's okay, because it gives me an opportunity to teach about fake prayers. Because you've never heard about fake prayers, right? So, given the opportunity to teach, you can't stop me. You can't stop me. So, the question arises in some of the codes. Okay, so you have this little bar mitzvah kid. This is the way it's presented. You have this little bar mitzvah kid, and he's learning his prayers. Okay, and then the question is, can he say Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Borei Pri Hagafen? And they're puzzled, because why would there be a question about whether they could say Borei Pri Hagafen? Why? But you don't have to be an adult to say Borei Pri Hagafen. You do have to be an adult to say Baruch Hu Adonai Havarach over the Torah. So let's go to that prayer. Okay, so he's learning his bar mitzvah portion, and he's there with his voice that's about to crack. He goes, right? Because that's what all bar mitzvah boys and girls sound like. Okay, how come what would be the problem of him being prohibited from saying that? He hasn't had his bar mitzvah yet, which is absolutely correct. And why else? Remember, he's learning, so that he could do this bar mitzvah in front of his. He what? There's no Torah. There's no Torah. So this little pisher is learning, and then he goes on and on and on. But there's no Torah. Now, what does it matter whether there's a Torah or not? Why is that a big deal? You're going to love this. If I use the term a bracha levatala, has anybody ever heard that term? A bracha levatala, a blessing in vain. A blessing in vain. A blessing in vain. What is Stanley talking about? I'm going to tell you. The blessing in vain is this. If you are going to do a blessing, you have to do the mitzvah right after the blessing. Right? So if you're doing the blessing for the wine, Borei Pri Hagafen, or whatever you're doing, you're supposed to drink the wine immediately. So if you're doing the blessing without doing the mitzvah, that's a blessing in vain. Oh, so how is little Moshe supposed to learn his Torah portion? And the blessings before and after the Torah portion, and the Haftarah, and yada, yada, yada. So the rabbis in the codes say, you know what? When it comes to learning, it's not really a blessing levatala. It's not a blessing in vain because it's a preparation for the higher mitzvah for when he stands in front of the Torah. It's a great answer. It's a great answer. It's also a medieval answer, right? Because that's when these codes were written. So why am I mentioning that? Because we're doing Havdalah on a Monday. Okay, so this gives me an opportunity to teach about Havdalah. Now, anybody know where we find the laws and customs of Havdalah? Anybody know? No? Okay, good, because now I can teach something. But look how much you've learned already. We learn it in the Masechet, the volume, in the Talmud, of brachot. Brachot means blessings. So all the laws of not all the laws, but many of the laws of blessings are found in the chapter dealing with blessings called brachot. Okay? And they spend a long time trying to figure out when evening occurs. I'm telling you, when do you say the Shema in the evening? And they go on for 18 pages. I swear to God, 18 pages until they get right. But so in the middle of the discussion about when does evening occur, comes the discussion about Havdalah. Okay, so they're talking about. They're going to talk about the candle, and they're going to talk about the spices, and then they're going to talk about the light, right? The candle, the spices, and the light, and the wine. Not the light, the wine, right? Okay, so we have three major symbols of Havdalah. Why do we have the wine? Well, I could say fruit of the loom, but that doesn't tell me anything. But no, that was invented at camp. What? Why? Yeah? You have to say it again, please. Oh, the cup runneth over thing, right, from Psalm 23. Exactly. It's the sanctification of the moment. Jews love to drink wine. There is almost no Jewish ceremony that does not include wine. Okay? Everything from the bris to a l'chaim out of Shiva. Okay, although with a l'chaim it's usually schnapps, but that's another thing. Okay? Okay. So that's precisely right. It's the wine is the symbol of sanctification. Now, spices. Why spices? That's kind of weird. Spices, eh? Okay, spices. Why would we have spices? Precisely. Smell is the one sense that brings us back to the great memories. And what is our great memory? Oh, our great memory is Shabbos. I got a chance to walk in the beach at negative 300 degrees, and it was beautiful. Okay? And then, right, because I was out there, it's cold out there. Okay? And so the last thing we smell on Shabbat, oh, I remember the Shabbat. Okay, now the candle is a tricky one. Why do we have the candle? First, let me answer this question. What is the blessing over the candle? Borei. Now, do you speak Hebrew? Do you know Hebrew? A little bit. Okay, tell me about the words Me'orei ha'esh. You're going to love this. Something about fire. Me'orei. What is it? Me'orei. Okay, now we're getting closer. Is me'orei singular or plural? It's plural. Okay, it's in conjunction with the word fire. So it means, praised are you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, yada yada, who creates the different kinds of light, different kinds of fire. It's in the plural. Why is it in the plural? Nobody knows. There's no explanation. It's like, just trust us. Okay? That's the part of that's in the Talmud under trust us, bro. Yes?
I guess in the plural, isn't that the reason why for the Havdalah candle is more than one wick?
Now you're cooking with gas. So the rabbis are saying, since we know the blessing, then we have to put more than one wick on the candle. Okay, so why does the candle look like the candle looks? I love teaching this stuff. Why does it look like that? Anybody know? What does it look like? It looks like a challah. I never thought of that. I don't eat it though. It looks like a braid. What else has a braid that is associated with Shabbat? Well, a challah, yeah. The what? I can't hear you. We keep going back to the challah because we're all hungry. Okay? It looks like the braid of a bride in her hair. She what? Not in Reform Judaism. Yeah. Well, the bride is wearing her shaitel, but we're not talking about that. That comes much later, by the way. That tradition comes much later. So you've got a symbol of the bride. Okay, bride, braid. I don't know if there's a linguistic connection there. Okay, now, a hard question. It's Saturday night. Okay? And when Elton John wrote Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, I keep thinking of Saturday Night's All Right for Havdalah. That's the way I associate it. You're coming into town, not Chicago, and there's gonna be a reason. You come into you're schlepping. You've got your horse behind you, right? He's carrying whatever he's carrying, the pots and pans. You're coming into town. It's a little small town. It's Saturday night. Most people don't walk around with their Havdalah set. What do you do? How do you do Havdalah? You're a good Jewish man, you're a good Jewish woman. How do you do Havdalah? Make up a story. What would you do? You want to do Havdalah. What do you do? Wouldn't it be great if there was a synagogue? Huh? A town square. What are you looking for in the town square? Well, you're looking for Jews, but what Jews go in the town square in the middle of the night? Right? You know. The what? You look for a deli? Here's the answer. You walk into town. This is according to the Talmud. You're walking into town, it's Havdalah. You don't have your Havdalah set. You don't have your candle. You don't have your spices. And you don't have your wine. So what do? You what? Well, you can find somebody's house and pretend like you're from ICE and say, hi, it's time to do Havdalah. Not recommended. Wine is going to be tough because most people don't walk around with wine. What do you do about the spices? You have to smell something at the end of Shabbat. Where are you going to go to smell the spices? Where? You can use flowers, but you're supposed to use spices. Where are you going to find spices? Yeah, you're going to find spices in the town square by the grocery stores. Right? Anybody ever been to Jerusalem? You walk through the Arab market. What are you smelling? You're smelling myrrh, you're smelling frankincense, and you're smelling something else, I don't know. Okay? There's all sorts of things you're smelling. It always smells wonderful. So you can go into the town, the market, right? And you can smell. Okay, now, what do you do for candles? This is a harder question. And the Talmud asks the question, what do you do? So the Talmud says, well, you walk into town, and most towns at night have what? Street lights. And what are the street lights made of? They're made of candles, or they're oil. So you can imagine little Moshe schlepping his donkey, and he's walking into town, and he's smelling the spices at the market, and he's looking at the candles. So what's the ikar? What's the lesson? And I'm going to share the lesson that I learned from this is that sometimes you have to improvise. And sometimes you just have to say, this is the best I can do under these circumstances. And you'll notice that if you do that, nobody considers it a sin. Because we don't have these kinds of crazy notions of that if you do this in this way, that is some kind of a sin. We don't have that. And in fact, I will tell you a story. My daughter Sarah was, I don't know, she's probably about 15 or 16. And we liked to go into the car in the summer for about 10, 12 days, and we used to drive and end up somewhere. And we ended up in Tennessee from New Jersey. Okay, we ended up in Tennessee. And we went camping in Tennessee. Okay, where it's 120,000 degrees. Okay? It was unbelievable, and all these other people had these RVs that were air conditioned. Okay, and we're in a tent, and my daughter says to me, you know what? It's Shabbat. I mean, of course I knew it was Shabbat. I said, fine, Sarah, what do we do? She said, well, we have to do something for Shabbat. I said, well, I didn't bring anything for Shabbat. I don't plan these camping trips like that. That takes far too much thought. I said, let's figure it out. So we pull off to the side of the road, and we find a 7-Eleven. I assure you, nobody sells challah in Tennessee. Except maybe Memphis. Okay? So what do we do for challah? What would you do for challah? Some kind of bread. Okay? Some kind of bread. Okay? They didn't have any. What else would you do? Graham crackers, somebody said? I never thought of that. That would have been better. Biscuits. Okay, so we take these biscuits, and you got to bang, and the whole thing opens up, right? So we take the biscuits, and we put the biscuits on a piece of tinfoil. Okay? And you got to put them on the fire, because you got to cook these things. Don't cook biscuits on an open fire. They turn into rocks. Okay? And okay, so there we have our challah, and said, okay, fine. We bought a bottle of grape juice. That was easy. What did we do for candles? That would have been better. We didn't have birthday candles. We used toilet paper rolls as our candlesticks. And there we are in the middle of western Tennessee, where the mosquitoes have names. And we put these little candles, they might have been birthday candles, I don't even remember, in these toilet paper rolls, and we lit them, and we had these burnt challahs, and we had our grape juice, and we did Shabbat. And I will tell you, I've done a lot of Shabbatot. I will never forget this Shabbat. Okay? Because it meant something. And so whether it's Shabbat or Havdalah or even Yom Kippur, and then I'm going to tell you one more story. On Yom Kippur, we're supposed to fast, right? There is a synagogue in Los Angeles called Beit Teshuvah. Anybody familiar with it? Beit Teshuvah. Did you know it? Beit Teshuvah was started by a man named Mark Horowitz. Mark Horowitz used to work for the mafia. He was a drug dealer. I'm serious, yeah. He was a drug dealer. He was a really nasty guy. And he got out of prison and he changed his life. And he started on the road to recovery and he became a rabbi. And I met him. He's a remarkable guy. And he looks exactly like you'd think he looked. He's wearing jeans that haven't been washed in 37 years. He's wearing sandals. He's wearing a shirt that looks like he was a lumberjack. And he's a rabbi of this congregation. And he tells the story of how in his synagogue on Yom Kippur, a young woman who happened to be an addict came into the building with a ham sandwich. A ham sandwich. She was testing him. What was his reaction? What do you think his reaction was? He wanted half of it, right? He said, "What is your name?" And she gave him his name, and he said, "Welcome, go sit down, you're part of the congregation. You are part of who we are." And the lesson here, whether it's Havdalah, when you're coming in with a little donkey, or whether it's Shabbat in Western Tennessee, or you walk into Yom Kippur with a ham sandwich testing the rabbi, you are part of this people. And it doesn't matter how you do the mitzvah. The important thing is that your heart is in exactly the right place. And that's my lesson for you today. Isn't that great? Yeah, good. All right, now we're going to actually do a fake Havdalah. Fake Havdalah. Good. So Ruthie and your three Ezrim.
Spice box. Yeah. So.
We have to light it. We have to light the match. Okay, I mean, here. I took matches 101 in rabbi school. See? I failed the course.
You forgot to take 102.
Yeah. No, that's it. No, but, yeah, no, that's it. Okay, somebody hold the wine. That's you?
That's my job.
Okay, so what you're going to need to do so we don't get wax all over the floor is kind of hold the table, hold the flat down. So, normally what I would do. Give the fire. You said fire, so I thought we did. Singing with you. But Jack said we have to be alone. So Jack is grabbing my style. It's okay. Does everybody know the words? Oh, good. So I was told in one of my myriad of interviews today that this congregation likes to sing.
Yes.
Okay, prove it to me. Ya la la again. Did you drink your wine? Did you drink your wine? You got to drink a teensy bit. Just grape juice.
Sorry.
Now we're cooking. Four blessings for Havdalah. Wow, this place echoes.
Yes.
There's four blessings for Havdalah. The wine, the spices, and the candles. But there's another one, which is the blessing of separation. And that goes, I'll give you the English. Praised are you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who separates the holy from the profane, which means the normal, light from darkness, and the Jewish people from the rest of the world. And in Hebrew, it's Baruch Atah Adonai. Do you have the English here? You have the Hebrew? There it is, right there. No. I just want to make sure I give you the right. Oh, well, okay, not a big deal. It is Baruch Atah Adonai Hamavdil ben Kodesh Lachol, ben Or Lachoshech, ben Yisrael Amim. Baruch Atah Adonai Hamavdil ben Kodesh Lachol, which means, praised are you, O God, who separates the holy from the profane. So, I'm going to teach you something else. There were so many Reformed Jews who had no idea what Havdalah was. Who reinvented Havdalah for the Reform movement? Debbie Friedman, of blessed memory. And she wrote all this music, and all of a sudden everybody's doing Havdalah. Music changes lives, it certainly does. So when we get to the Shavua Tov, when we get to Shavua Tov, you have to do this. You got to put the the candle in the wine so it goes shh. I learned that at camp. Hamavdil ben kodesh lechol, chatotenu yimchol, zarenu v'chaspenu yad bekachol, v'kochavim balayla.
Now,
Shavua
Tov, Shavua Tov, nice. Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov.
Eliyahu
Hanavi, Eliyahu, Hanishi,
Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimera beyamenu, Yahavo Eleinu, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David. Now at the beginning of Shabbat, we say Shabbat Shalom. And on Monday, Tuesday at 7 o'clock, we better say Shabbat Tov. Because the week is already here, and so I wish you all a Shabbat Tov, a good week, a week of blessing, a week of peace, a week of joy, and a week of warmth. Shabbat